joining us is Mr. Burcu Daragai, an international journalist joining us from Istanbul. Thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Mr. Burcu, I want to actually start to talk about what's happening in Washington, specifically the resignation of Joe Kent, the former counterterrorism chief, over the Iran war. This has reignited a sensitive debate about Israeli influence on U.S. policy. How do you read this moment?
Well, I think that it's still not clear what has happened. I thought that it was interesting that Joe Kent tried to maintain his good relations with Trump and continue to praise Donald Trump even as he resigned. He could have been influenced by Israel, as he said. Trump could have been influenced by Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel. But ultimately, it was Trump's decision to launch this war. As Anthony Blinken came out and said, the former Secretary of State under Joe Biden and a national security official under Barack Obama, that both those presidents were also told the same thing by Benjamin Netanyahu, and both of them told him to get lost and not to launch the war, and that they wouldn't help him if he did. So I think it says more about Trump and the cult of MAGA that Joe Kent still wants to believe in Donald Trump.
Burcu, perhaps when we look at the last 48 hours, especially the expansion of strikes beyond Israel and Iran into the Gulf, are we still in a bilateral conflict or a regional war?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a regional war, especially if you factor in the reports that Russia and China are providing Iran with signals and satellite intelligence and so on, and that, this is definitely becoming a regional conflict. You had also some extraordinary developments. After days of the U.S. and Israel saying that they've degraded Iran's missile capacity and its ability of offensive action, you have the number of Iranian strikes and Iranian drone swarms increasing in recent days, and that's quite extraordinary. You also had a strike today on the refinery in Haifa, just off the coast of Israel, as well as a direct hit, perhaps the first in history, of a U.S. F-35 stealth fighter by Iranian anti-aircraft. Wait a second, I thought that Iran had no more anti-aircraft.
Maybe speaking about the regional countries, also the GCC or Gulf countries. Burcu, let's talk about the countries in this region like Qatar, which is calling for de-escalation while also warning they reserve the right to respond. Are Gulf states being pulled into the conflict, whether they want it or not, in your opinion?
Well, it was the Gulf states' decision to host these U.S. bases. And it appears, even the Wall Street Journal is reporting today, that the U.S. is using the airspace and the territory of these countries, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, maybe Qatar, but definitely those countries, to launch attacks on Iran. And Iran knows this. Those bases are not there as a joke. Those bases are there to target Iran, and they always have been. And Iran knows that, and the Gulf knows that. And they had promised that they would not allow the U.S. to use their territory for launches against Iran. Yet there are, some dude on Instagram posted a picture of the U.S. military using a HIMAR short-range artillery device right from the desert of Bahrain against Iran. So, they're using that territory. And so in the Iranian eyes, that's a legitimate target.
Right.